The men's basketball team kicked off its season Monday night versus Wagner, and it wasn't pretty with the game ending in overtime. Plus,
but right now you're just pulling so much for him because of the stage that he's in and being able to find himself in a position starting at a young age. There's a whole bunch that goes into the position.
That's Kurt Warner, EJ's dad. Oh, and by the way, he's a Hall of Fame winning quarterback. We'll talk with Dad about his son's time so far at Temple. Also, another heartbreaker for field hockey in the semifinals of the Big East tournament.
OwlSports Update is live, and it starts right now. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of OwlSports Update. I'm Brielle Berry, he's Ajay Patel, and we have some new seasons starting up on North Broad.
But first, we'll take a trip down to the link where Temple football was still looking for that first conference win of the season.
On Saturday at Lincoln Financial Field, the University of South Florida came to town. USF gets on the board first here when QB Travis Marsh finds wideout Xavier Weaver, who shakes up Owls safety Alex Odom and puts 6 on the board. On the Bulls' second offensive drive of the day, kicker Spencer Schrader attempts a field goal, but he misses. On to the second quarter, Temple leading 9-7 until running back Darvon Hubbard runs it in for a touchdown and extends the Owls' lead 16-7. But this was not the Darvon Hubbard show, it was the Edward Sadie show. The sophomore was all gas, no brakes against the Bulls defense, running the ball 40 yards on this play for a TD, but of course he wasn't done just yet. If that 40-yarder wasn't enough for you, here's E.J. Warner with the shovel pass to Sadie, and he takes off down the left sideline for a 75-yard run and score. Sadie had 24 carries to go along with 3 touchdowns and a total of 265 yards, which comes out to about 11 yards per carry. He had yet to reach 100 yards in a game this season. But Sadie wasn't the only owl to have himself a game. QB E.J. Warner completed 75% of his 36 passes for 344 yards, the most he's thrown this season. Final score is Temple 54, USF 28.
Yeah, I'm just so proud of those guys. Like you said, we've had so many injuries and so many different combinations of people. They really those 5 guys came in today and just executed what they had to do. I'm just proud of them for bouncing back after other weeks and just coming back, playing their game, opening up holes. The run game was fantastic today. Made my job so much easier. Just had to hand the ball off and become a fan just watching the ball, watching these huge holes open up, watching Sadie run through them, break tackles. It was overall a good day. Just so proud of those guys for the way they played. I think you always envisioned that. That's the goal of the offense, is to sustain drives and go down and put points on the board. So yeah, I mean, we envisioned it all week. That was our game plan, and we went out and we executed.
A career best performance for E.J. Warner carried the Owls to their first conference W. Prior to this past week's matchup, Inside the Nest anchors Luke Meli and Emily Cochran had the chance to catch up with E.J.'s dad, no other than Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner. Let's take you over to the studio set where Luke has more.
Thanks, AJ. The NFL Hall of Famer was kind enough to give Emily and me some time to talk about his son, EJ. Kurt discussed EJ earning his teammates' respect as a 19-year-old true freshman. He also talked about a situation very few parents experience, handling his nerves while watching his 2 sons play Division I football.
I think he's trying to earn the respect of the guys. And once he earns the respect of his teammates, then he feels like he can probably let loose and become more, complete in terms of his emotions and his position as a leader. But it's a hard thing. I mean, I can't even really speak on it because I sat on the bench for 4 years in college. So I didn't play until I was a 5th-year senior. Playing as a true freshman in a situation like this, and again, in a situation where we all know the team's rebuilding, new coach, new staff, a lot of new players in there. that's a lot to put on a young kid. I get very nervous, especially with EJ, because my older son plays wide receiver. And so for whatever reason, although I'm nervous when he plays, it's not quite the same. You know, when you have the ball in your hands on every snap, and every decision that's made is left up to you. And because I think I know the position as well. So when I watch EJ, I'm very nervous, and you know, I'm trying to see things through his eyes and see things through my eyes and things that I can help him with.
Kurt told us that EJ is doing and seeing things that he had no chance of doing at that age. Reporting from the studio set, I'm Luke Meli. AJ and Brielle, back to you.
Thanks, Luke. Looking ahead, Temple takes on Houston this Saturday. Last weekend, Houston put up 66 points when it took on SMU, but 66 wasn't enough. The Cougars offense now ranks better than UCF's offense, a team that beat the Owls 70-13. The Owls defense will have their hands full trying to contain dual threat QB Clayton Tune. Game time is Saturday at 3 p.m.
From the gridiron to the court, Temple basketball also took on a green-colored foe. The team has been itching to get back to the Liacouras Center for over 8 months. Temple basketball likes its chances to make a postseason run this year, labeling the season tournament or bust. This game versus non-conference foe Wagner. The Owls rock their white unis. Right off the bat, Jaleel White passes the ball to new face Kurjan Kuch for an easy 2. Later in the first, with just under 10 minutes left in the half, Hyzier Miller dishes the ball to Damian Dunn, who hits his only 3 of the game. Then, down in the paint, Hyzier Miller gets active, posting up Keontae Lewis for 2 of his 4 points. And here's the story of the game. Zach Hicks misses from the top of the key. The Owls only shot 25% from deep. This game goes into OT, and with less than 2 minutes left, Philly native Ramir Moore grabs an offensive board and puts up a second chance bucket. Caleb Battle, who missed the majority of last season, attempts a game-tying shot, but is unable to convert. The Owls scored just 4 points in 5 extra minutes. Your final is 76-73 Wagner.
The Owls blew a double-digit lead and didn't hit a single bucket in overtime, all at home. OwlSports Updates Logan Matthews was at the Liacouras Center to tell us what went wrong in Temple's Monday night loss.
Thanks, guys. This is not how Temple drew it up. The Owls led by 8 points with less than 90 seconds to go. But defensive mistakes and fouls allowed Wagner to hang around and make that comeback that ended in a Temple overtime loss. There was some good news. Damian Dunn set a school record with 18 straight free throws. He scored 29. Caleb Battle added 16. But in that overtime, no one on Temple hit a single bucket, and that did the Owls in, falling on opening night.
We just got to sharpen up with our rebounding and make sure we're finding guys that keeping our head on the swivel.
Because we didn't do the little things we needed to do to win the game, boxing out, communicating. We didn't do that at all.
You know, we still got to stick to the same principles, but like we said, we're going to watch the film and learn from it.
This is the first time the Owls have dropped a season opener since 2015 when they lost to #1 North Carolina. Reporting from the Liacouras Center, I'm Logan Matthews, OwlSports Update.
Thanks, Logan. The road for the Hoops team doesn't get any easier. On Friday, the Owls take on Philly 5 rival Villanova, who is ranked 16th in the country. Last time these two teams squared off, Temple lost by 20 points. But the Owls do have the home court advantage. This game can be seen on ESPNU.
The men's basketball team needed to fill 2 spots on its roster before the start of the season. To do this, they turned to students who wanted to play college basketball but weren't scholarship ready. OwlSports Update's Sam Covone has the story.
Just 1% of high school athletes play Division I athletics. Freshman guards A.K. Fila and Connor Gow are now part of the 1% as walk-ons for Temple basketball.
I like Temple because the coaches, the people here, the staff.
Connor is 6'4" and comes from Malvern. And AK is 6'2" and has traveled to Temple all the way from South Africa.
The walk-on process is extremely selective, as Connor and AK were only 2 of the 9 players to actually try out and make it on the team.
Coming out of high school, both players did not receive any Division I offers.
I honestly don't really care what my role is. Whatever role I put in, I'm just going to do it my best.
I'm just more worried about, I just want the team success.
Ryan Sayers has been instrumental in Connor and AK's integration with the team. He walked onto the team 2 years ago.
Ryan's done a terrific job of being selfless and giving them an opportunity to really learn from him so that these guys don't come in and make some of the same mistakes he made.
Connor and AK both share the same team goals and individual goals.
The team, I'd say, win the American Conference, like just come #1 in our division, and then individually probably get some more than 5 minutes.
Although they might not get on the court much this season, you will find Connor and AK cheering from the bench. Reporting from Pearson McGonigal Hall, I'm Sam Covone, OwlSports Update.
We're up against our first break of the day, but when we come back, women's basketball opened its season Monday as well, and Diane Richardson got her first taste of being head coach in the Cherry and White. Highlights coming up. Welcome back. The women's basketball team traveled 45 miles north in its season opener to play 24th ranked Princeton. Here's Jaisha Clinton driving down the lane, but the pass gets stolen by Princeton's Julia Cunningham, and she dishes it to Ellie Mitchell, who hits the turnaround jumper in the paint. She finished the game with 12 points. Owls trailed by 11 at the end of the first quarter, but went on a 16-8 run in the second to put them within 3 at halftime. Tiara East in the lane and tries to dish to Clinton, but the pass gets deflected and stolen. Cunningham gets the ball up court and finishes the layup. She had 13 points on the day. Clinton gets the and one on this layup, but her 11 points just weren't enough. Final score on the night is Princeton 67, Temple 49.
The women play their home opener Saturday versus Georgetown. This season, the Owls will call the Leah-Core Center their home for the first time since the 2008-2009 season. But this is just one of the many changes in the program. OwlSports Update's Hayden Bandel is live outside the Leah-Core Center with news on these changes. Hey, Hayden.
Thanks, AJ. For the first time in 14 seasons, the Temple women's basketball team has a new voice leading the way. Diane Richardson made her Temple debut in that loss to Princeton. Despite the loss, her goal is to add stability while also growing a program that historically has had success but has struggled over the past few seasons.
This week in Navy Sports is brought to you by Navy.
Over the past 2+ decades, the women's program has just had 2 head coaches. Dawn Staley, the top college women's coach in the game, and then Tanya Cardoso, the program's winningest coach. These are big shoes to fill, and Diane Richardson knows it.
Both of them have done great super jobs for Temple and what made Temple the way it is, and so I've got to come in and fill their footsteps in a sense, and try to continue to build this program.
The former Towson coach has managed just 1 regular season game as an Owl, but her players, old and new, feel a different energy.
She's able to, coach us hard and also pick us up when we're down.
I'm just a very positive and exciting person.
This is why I really like playing for her, because it's like the best of both worlds. Like, you get like the goofy side of Coach Rich, and then immediately we can get serious too.
Richardson has been active from the moment she stepped foot on North Broad, moving the team's home games from McGonigal Hall to the Leah-Core Center.
I knew that we wanted to play in the big arena just like the men do.
Coach Richardson will bring a unique playing style on the offensive side for a program that lost its all-time leading scorer and still ranked in the bottom of the conference in points per game last season.
It's about equal opportunity offense, like everybody in the offense touches the ball.
She allows everybody to, score and do the things that they do well on the court.
That equal opportunity offense has allowed Towson transfer Aaliyah Nelson to thrive under Coach Richardson. The two have known each other since Nelson was in 8th grade. In her 2 seasons for the Tigers, she was named 2nd and 1st team All-Conference. Reporting from the Leah-Core Center, I'm Hayden Bandel. Brielle and AJ, back to you.
After 6 periods and a shootout, the 24th nationally ranked Temple field hockey team lost to 13th ranked Old Dominion 4-3. This came as a surprise. The Owls had the lead in the 3rd period, getting out to a 2-0 advantage. But the Monarchs go ahead and score 3 unanswered goals to force a lead change. This all comes before Peyton Rager scores her second goal of the day, tying the game to force overtime. Temple Field Hockey hasn't been able to beat Old Dominion squad since 2016.
Here are the final rankings within the Big East Conference this season. Liberty sits at the top of the list, winning the conference 2 years in a row. The Flames took down the ODU Monarchs on Sunday in the Big East Championship game, winning 3-1. ODU, UConn, and Temple all finished at or above 500 within the conference. Villanova, Quinnipiac, Providence, and Georgetown all were below 500 in the conference, with the Hoyas ending the year winless.
Field hockey's 13 wins is the most in about a decade. One reason might be technology.
We'll look at a new device the team is using to help performance that fans never see. OwlSports Update will be back in a minute 30.
Welcome back. Here at OwlSports Update, we are not the only ones monitoring Temple sports. Catapult Technology also tracks athletes' performances in games and even progress in practices. It's time to go high-tech with field hockey. Temple Field Hockey wears more than just cherry and white jerseys on game day. They also wear little black vests called catapults. These unobtrusive vests are worn under players' jerseys and track the level of aerobic exercise they get. Oftentimes, you can't even tell that the athletes are wearing them, and the athletes can't feel them either.
You train 20 hours a week, you have 2 games a week in season, so it's a lot of load on their body.
The Catapult system not only tracks the distance that the athletes run, it also tracks the top speed and power. Athletes can also use this information and compare it with their teammates. According to Coach Batiste, a single player could run anywhere from 3 to 10 miles in a game. Depending on how much they run, their cardio levels in practice will be adjusted accordingly. This creates a competitive spirit among teammates, and the coaching staff definitely helps stirring up the pot.
I know in the spring, our coaches kind of was like, listen, this player's working the hardest, we can tell by their catapult.
Coaches also use this resource to manage fatigue and make sure their players are getting enough rest. The data collected lets the coaching staff cater to their players' specific needs.
If they're hitting more miles or more top speeds in the games that weekend, we may actually lower their number of sets that they do Tuesday.
At 11-5, the Owls' integration of Catapult looks to be just one reason the team is having its most successful season, dating back to 2014. The average field hockey player runs over 5 miles per game. The team uses this information and technology to make sure its players can better handle this demand during the season.
You know you're big when you retire and you're still being celebrated. Last week, former Temple fencing coach Nikki Frank was inducted into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. OwlSports Update's Carlton Wiggins takes us through the ceremony and what Frank plans to do with her retirement.
Right across the street.
Some of Philadelphia's best-known athletes lined up as part of the newest Hall of Fame class. And Nikki Frank was right in the middle of it all.
I think, fencing is part of my life. It's something that I'm passionate about.
Names like Jimmy Rollins and David Akers were part of this year's Sports Writers Hall of Fame class, along with Frank, who just retired this past fall after 50 years of running Temple's program.
Everything that I've done has been a result of the assistant coaches that I've had the pleasure of working with, and with the wonderful women that I've had a chance to coach.
Coach Frank ends her career on a record high of 898 wins, 26 NIWFA championships, and led the Owls to placing 5th in the College Fencing 360 ranking for the 2019 and 2020 season. Those are just a few of her accolades. Frank started Temple's fencing program in 1972 as a club sport, and she built it into a powerhouse that included a national title in 1992.
Our very first All-American was a field hockey player who came out after field hockey season.
The Sports Writers Hall of Fame is Frank's 5th, and while her coaching days might be behind her, her interest and involvement in fencing is far from over.
I don't see myself ever being away from fencing. I'm going to be involved in some way.
One way Frank plans to stay involved is by creating a future program within Philadelphia that looks to introduce young people to the sport of fencing. But for now, she'll just enjoy retirement. Reporting from Live Casino and Hotel in Philadelphia, I'm Carlton Wiggins, OwlSports Update.
Frank has also worked with the community around Temple to get more young men and women involved with sports and college athletics.
We spent some time today talking about some of the fall sports that are wrapping up, but volleyball still has some matches to play.
We welcome in OwlSports Update's Meg Doyle to tell us about the team's 2 most recent matches. Hey, Meg.
Hey, guys. Yes, the volleyball team has 6 matches left in the season, taking them past Thanksgiving. And right now, they're trying to use them to stop a 2-match losing streak that popped up over the weekend. First against Tulsa, and then against Wichita State. The Owls were at home in Pearson-McGonigal Hall for a matchup against the Golden Hurricane. Temple and White had a tough start as they fell short in the first 2 sets. With Temple on the brink of a straight set loss, Peyton Boyd set the Owls up for a 3rd set win with a kill, which was one of her 15 kills during the match. But Tulsa took back control in the 4th set, getting ahead 6-0, a lead the Owls couldn't catch up on. The Golden Hurricane win the match 3-1. The Owls now in Cherry. Temple went up against Wichita State on Sunday. The Shockers dominated set 1 25-13, also taking set 2 25-18. Temple fought back in the 3rd set as Yelena Prolich bumps the ball over the net. Wichita State tries to respond, but the Owls don't allow it as Peyton Boyd had one of her set-high 6 kills, winning the 3rd set for Temple. But just like the Tulsa match, Wichita State bounces back in the 4th set and takes the match 3-1. The Owls will be traveling to Memphis this Friday to take on the Tigers, aiming to get a revenge win. The overall season ends on November 26th.
When we come back, it'll be time for Brielle and me to give our takes on the women's basketball team.
It's break time. We will see you in 90 seconds. Welcome back. Finally, this half hour, we couldn't forget the part where we break things down.
It's just about time for how A, AJ, and B, Brielle, see it. And for 2 consecutive shows in a row, we'll be discussing women's basketball.
So the women's team took on Princeton Monday evening, and they only had 2 players in double figures in Jaisha Clinton and Tiara East. Now, Aaliyah Nelson, the Towson transfer that followed head coach Diane Richardson here, had 9 points. And I think as the season progresses, those early season struggles are going to go away and more players are going to contribute points. So, AJ, how do you see things?
No, you're right. Speaking of early season struggles, the team as a whole could only convert 5% from beyond the arc, and they could only rebound 28 the whole game. So, I mean, Princeton had 51, so it's just about getting physical and down there in the paint. We certainly have covered a lot today with 2 seasons of sports in one show.
That is all the time we have for today's episode. For Ajay Patel, I'm Brielle Berry, and have a wonderful rest of your day.